I've been in the renewable energy industry for 17 years. I got it in 2007. I've never installed a solar panel before until the Let's Share the Sun delegation to Puerto Rico. So I was all about just like getting on the roof, putting on my hard hat, laying the panels, drilling the racking, learning about all the wiring. I was asking all these questions. Like I just was all about it because I kind of just need to be able to practice what I preach, maybe for a lack of a better word. Like it was a great, just kind of like technical learning opportunity for me.
Hello and welcome to the Solar Maverick Podcast, where solar meets entrepreneurship and experience. I'm your host, Benoy Thanjan. This is a very special episode. It was filmed right before Christmas with Russell LaPlante, Flavia Cabral, Stephen, Jordan, and I. We reflected on our November 2025 trip to Puerto Rico with Let's Share the Sun. Let's Share the Sun brings solar and battery storage to communities that need reliable power the most. During our delegation in Adjuntas, Puerto Rico, we helped install solar, spent time with the families who received these systems, and saw firsthand how energy resiliency can change lives. This conversation is more than solar panels. It's about community, giving back, energy independence, and the human impact of clean energy. Russell talks about installing solar for the first time after 17 years in renewable energy. Flavia shares how deeply she connected with the beneficiaries, and together we reflect on why this work is so meaningful. Before we start, I want to invite everyone to our summer solstice fundraiser for Let's Share the Sun in Jersey City, New Jersey on Thursday, June 4th. This event will bring together the Solar Maverick community, clean energy leaders, friends, and supporters to raise money for Let's Share the Sun's important work in Puerto Rico. A big thank you to our sponsors, Soul Harvest, Kinetic Communities, Concentro, New Energy Equity, Jordan Energy, Positive Deviancy, the Solar Maverick Podcast, and Reneu Energy. We appreciate your support and commitment to clean energy and community impact. This episode is personal, inspiring, and a reminder of why this industry matters. Let's get into it.
I want to start by just saying thank you for inviting us into your home. There's definitely a lot different between a house and a home, and with the tour here, you can really feel that, and I appreciate that because it's been since September, right? Since being in here, and it has that feel to it. So, it's been a little bit of time since being on a delegation, but I wanted to come together and talk through what that trip was like and some highlights. So, I think there's moments of being on the trip where you really feel you're engulfed in it, and sometimes it's taking a step back to reflect, and you can go through footage of the trip and those memories, but I think it's always good to take the time to talk about what are some highlights, areas of improvement. I mean, we did that the last day. Yeah, I think starting there, what did this trip mean to all of us to be in the at least Stamos vision of Let's Share the Sun? So anybody can jump in there on that one of what Let's Share the Sun has kind of meant to them and this specific November delegation.
You want to go, or you want me to go?
Go for it.
All right.
No, this will do. Yeah.
I guess for me and for Flavia and I mean, we're just recently married. Like we got married back in the summertime, so we're very early in this journey together. And one of the things that we've talked about as a couple is, getting involved, giving back, working with people that are in need of maybe some of the gifts that we can help to provide, or some of the expertise that we can provide. So early on in our marriage, we've talked about, organizations to try to get involved with, ways to, give of ourselves and our resources. So Let's Share the Sun was introduced to us actually by our good friend Benoy, who's had lots of meaning in our lives, which we can get to later. But we met Stavi, you and Bernie and your parents at a happy hour June of last year, and we were talking about maybe going on a delegation. So I brought it up to Flavia, and she was all about going to Puerto Rico and, spending some time installing solar panels on people's homes, people that are in need of more reliable access to electricity. And it was something that we could kind of do as a couple and really start to just kind of give back together, something that we could share. So that was a pretty special aspect of it for me. So
absolutely. Same here. When I heard about you guys, obviously he said he came to me to tell me a little bit more about Let's Share the Sun. We were already in the process of trying to find the right place for us, the right organization, and more than anything, I like to say the right people.
Yeah.
Because it's about the humans that run an organization, a foundation, and then what's the intention behind. And to me, I'm very big on that. So after he mentioned that in meeting you guys, and meeting your parents were incredible. I remember meeting your parents, they remembered everything that we went through even before getting married, that I was out of the U.S. for 7 months, and the fact that we were apart, and they were so loving. And your mom came to us last minute before we left, or the guest, whatever she could find, she came to us. And those tiny things that are so thoughtful, and they might be small, but they show like how people move, where they're focusing. It's, for me, you guys were focusing on giving. And I can see that in like small things that you guys do. It's not only on the meetings or the big things and the big trips. So I'm big on that, and I respect that. So I fell in love with just the people in the group. And we came back and I said to him, like, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It's related to your industry. It might not be mine, but still it's now connected to me as well. So it all kind of like fell into place, and
it all felt right.
Yeah.
It just felt right.
Layman.
And also when your parents, I think your mom gave us the Casa Pueblo coffee, that coffee was amazing. We were like, we should go home and check it out.
No, and so appreciative of how it gets connected. Obviously, Benoy is quite the connector,
in many ways, is the quintessential connector.
I was excited that obviously both of you came on the trip and experienced the Let's Share the Sun, because I actually organized several fundraisers before actually going on a trip. So John Moran, who's on the board of Let's Share the Sun, actually introduced me to Bill. And then, I did 2 podcasts, but your dad was like, hey, until you go on a trip, you don't really know the impact. Like we could talk about it, but actually once you go and actually meet with the families, see how it actually changes their life. For me, like my first trip was the March delegation of just this year. After doing maybe 4 or 5 fundraisers for Let's Share the Sun, that was finally my first trip, and that was like a game-changing experience. And I was just so excited for the November delegation, because you both were going, and then Jade from Positive Deviancy, she came on the March trip. I was so excited to go in the November and it was a very different trip, actually, in a sense of like, it was a smaller trip. I felt like we all were able to get to know each other. We were all able to actually spend a lot of time with the families and get to learn their experiences. Like, remember your friend who loved tango, one of the beneficiaries. And then also too, like, I thought it was amazing, Russ, you were talking about your experience on the second day when you were installing, and then how one of the installers like share his story.
Yeah.
So I'm just so excited that, you both had a great experience, and felt the same things that, I did from my experience.
Yeah, there were so many different layers to it. Obviously, it's the homeowners, it's the beneficiaries that you're helping, giving access to more reliable electricity, but it was also the construction crews that we worked with. Like you were just referring to it. We met several people who were working at businesses that were, doing all these different jobs for the foundation, and they're bringing in income for their families, and they're in some ways having an opportunity to restart their lives. Like we heard a couple stories of individuals working at the contractors who had, they were in jail for different things, different like run-ins with the law, needed to find more opportunities in their life to bring in money for their families and to give and to get a second chance. And that was that was very much the story with some of these folks that we met on the roof. So that was a pretty special moment for me.
Yeah. Then to also see like people in the industry who's never actually installed solar, and then to see the excitement too. And I know that was your first time, Russ, after being in the industry. I think it's been more than 15 years.
I've been in the renewable energy industry for 17 years. I got it in 2007. I've never installed a solar panel before until the Let's Share the Sun delegation to Puerto Rico. So I was all about just like getting on the roof, putting on my hard hat, laying the panels, drilling the racking, learning about all the wiring. I was asking all these questions. Like I just was all about it because I kind of just need to be able to practice what I preach, maybe for a lack of a better word. Like it was a great, just kind of like technical learning opportunity for me. So,
Well, a big word that you said, and we talked about this at Animam the other day, is impact. And, we think of, coming up on the new year and, what our big things were within the year. I think big thing that we look at is, how do we impact people? And, what impact are we driving within our efforts on a day-to-day basis? So, I think that's something that comes through, and I definitely received that of, you saying that giving word. And a theme that I'm really trying to discover and learn more is, not just giving, but sharing. And, I think so much of our world is dynamic where we tend to not kind of push ourselves to share in community spaces. And I love being here. Everyone we got here is, neighbor of yours and he little kid. So, sharing homes, sharing spaces, and sharing testimonies, sharing stories. I think that was a highlight for me, and sitting down with the beneficiaries and hearing their stories. And I know everybody's got a story, right? We all go through things.
Well, I think that the thing about getting yourself in these type of experiences, in this case, is solar panels. It can be something else. I've done something not related to renewable energy, but something different, building homes. Back in Argentina, we will go to talk to communities. And there's something about it that makes it very real.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it gives you a deeper perspective and more obviously clear understanding of what these people go through there. Little details that they might be silly, but we don't think of. Like me personally, when we talk about, the possibility to helping, these communities, these families with renewable energy, these solar panels and all, you think of the basics, but then there are small things that you learn only by maybe talking to someone that educate a little more, either you, because you've done it many times, or that sitting there, like, I have medication. I need to have my fridge. I need to have that medication not to go to waste. And because this is the quality of life. I need to stay alive, or I need to take care of my kids, or whoever member of the family is that is in deep need of something in particular. There are certain details that we might not take into consideration when we talk about helping. Is not only having the energy, is what that does. Small things like and keep my medicine safe for my family or my kid or for my things like that. Or talking to this woman, she was older, and when they go or when they don't have energy, the times that they not only lose a lot of food and stuff, but also they fall, for example. And now they have another problem on top of your situation. Things like that I feel sometimes we obviously don't think of. Like we understand they need it, but you don't see it until you're in it. Yeah. You hear from them, and that is so amazing to me. It makes it very real for you and for them. And you feel everything. You feel a need, but you also feel like gratitude. Like when these people tell you, I will be praying for you guys. Like, thank you. I don't really feel it. Like, I don't know. That's what they will do. And it's this thing that comes back to you as well. So to me, doing it makes it really real. And I wish people can, we all can, put ourselves in positions like that, similar to get real contact and interaction with other people that might have different stories.
Mm-hmm. It was a very real sense of gratitude that the beneficiaries had.
Oh, definitely.
And stories that they have of traumatic experiences, right? Like from some of the hurricanes and the natural disasters that have happened in Puerto Rico, like losing power and having major health incidents like in the middle of a blackout, right? It's like in the United States, we kind of take having access to electricity for granted. It's a right. It's something that we don't operate in our lives kind of thinking, oh, like what if the power goes out? But in Puerto Rico and in the lives of some of these people, like it's a life or death kind of situation. So to hear those very tangible stories was something that was just very revealing for us, and it just shines a light on the importance of what Let's Share the Sun does.
I think a really interesting thing too, which I noticed actually by going to the March and November delegation. Flavia, one of your superpowers was you really connected with the beneficiaries. I found that the beneficiaries were a lot more open about their experiences, and they felt a connection towards you. And then the information that they shared about their experience was actually more at a deeper level than when I was, the past delegation. Can you talk about that? It was amazing to me actually to watch and observe how the beneficiaries really felt like a connection towards, they're open to it. Also, you guys both did an amazing job with the installation, and you're probably the most serious couple we've ever seen, or I've seen in Let's Share the Sun when it comes to installation. Absolutely. So pull around.
It was also really fun.
Yeah.
People were, at least with me, not with all of us, they were very patient, like trying to explain everything. Yeah, I have no idea how to do it. They're like, so it is. I understand there's a system in place, so they know how to teach you what to give you, so all of that. I think it was fun, definitely. To me, obviously, I knew from the very beginning that my thing was going to be to talk to them.
Cool.
I really, really like connecting to these people and hear what they have to say. And I feel that when you make them feel heard, there's some energy that it's gonna come out. It's gonna happen. It's not something that, it's not a technique, or it's not something that you do because you're special. Just make others feel heard, and that what they say, what they have to share matters.
Yeah.
And if you just give them that space to share, it's gonna happen. At the end, for me, it was always a thing of like getting closer and just lets them know that they're not alone, or that you're incredible for the things that you went through, and like holding their hands and like, look at them. Because I personally, obviously, I don't know if they ever read that from someone. Who knows? Maybe they don't. I don't know. This particular story of like sisters.
The two sisters, yeah.
That one was very, very touching for me because I have 3 sisters and we're extremely close. And there's this thing about women together when they have a strong bond that is, in society, we tend to even joke sometimes about how difficult women can be to each other. And sometimes it is true, but it's also true that when women come together, there's such an incredible, like strong, special bond that I have experienced. So hearing them, like talking about each other, how they gone through things together and how they don't let each other down and they're like there for each other. It brought me to tears because I'm thinking of my sisters. They're all the way back in Argentina. And, after talking for a little bit, I'm like, and hearing what she went through, losing a son, losing family members, all the things, I'm like, I just need to let her know that she's incredible and that she, however you're going through this, you're doing the best you can. You're incredible. Like, I'm so inspired by everything you went through. And my goal was only to let them know. And they seem to take it,
No, they loved you. And I mean, I was amazed to watch at the end because you were talking to sisters predominantly like outside. And then just like when you were leaving too, like it was pretty emotional. I felt from observing.
Well, they're taking a little bit formality out of the equation.
Yeah.
Like something, what I've learned moving away from my country at a very young age is that sometimes we try to be so. For me, it works the other way around. I just show myself the way I am, and if I do that, it happens that the other people give me back the same energy.
That's right. I think that's definitely something to highlight because, there's a dynamic in our culture, in our world where, I'm on the cusp at the end of being a millennial, but a lot of these younger generations, it's very hard for them to connect. And, we have these technologies that take us away from what it means to, be in person with people and talk and, connect on that deeper level and be that authentic, self that you're talking about. And yeah, I think it hits home too on the topic of women because, that's a pillar, pledge of the sun, solar for women, solar for health and solar for education. And I'm just thinking of the future for this organization and for like ventures that we have. I think, I used to have a sticker on my phone. Whenever I took a picture, people would say it. It said "Empowered women, empower women." And it's funny for me as a guy to have that, right? But I think so much of that is on that theme of empowering. And you brought that up in your speech at Hudson Hall the other day of what it means to empower and bring power, right, through this technology that at speed and scale, like you've talked about many times on your podcast, is the best way to move energy forward. And yeah, it's a big part of it, right? So it's definitely where my mind is going for the future and wanting to, have that space be facilitated by, real, authentic people, and not just for us, but for younger generations and for kids, right? Because they are our future. And I know that was something we talked about at the end, the last day at Casa Pueblo, where we were on that, top balcony is, what would we want to see in future trips? And I loved being in Haiti as a kid, running around with kids, playing soccer and, getting my ass kicked in that environment. But, I think you see it and you feel it at Casa Pueblo of having kids involved. And I know with this specific, DOE grant of within Adjuntas of doing these 200 homes, a lot of the demographics are medical issues for the older population because Adjuntas is an older population of Puerto Rico. I think all of this is multi-layered, right? It's not just solar and storage. It's, energy independence, right? And it's an avenue for community building. And I think of, I was talking with Danny, what it would be like during hurricane season to be there. And, that pulse of the community when everything goes out, all those spaces where there is that storage. And your work within storage in Puerto Rico is something I think that is important to highlight here. And, it's exciting to talk about those opportunities within Convergent, moving forward on how, the work in these community spaces can also tie into, what it means to lift up others in those spaces that are in need of work. And I was listening to your podcast on the way here and talking about community solar and La Comunidad. The community is like an aspect of our culture that I see as something that needs a little revitalization. You need to be shaken up, and if we don't talk and we don't have open conversations, that's where division comes, and people get their own mindsets of what something is, and you're not able to really connect on. I guess we're not that different at the end of the day.
I think that's true too. Like, think about it. We're in Adjuntas, right? Probably most of the people haven't been to Adjuntas. It's in the central part of Puerto Rico. It's coffee country. It's hilly. And it's amazing how you could connect with people that are from a totally different background, right? And they get excited on when the different delegations come because you meet people from different locations, different countries. They haven't been, met people. So it's interesting, really, like even the families, right? And just their experiences and how we're not that different at the end of the day once we're spending time to, and it's amazing to me, like, they're very appreciative and how, like, the beneficiaries, I thought, they just want the solar and storage and that's it, but they really want to, like, know who you are and really get to know you. And it's an experience for sure. And there's just so many things like energy independence. Like the 2 delegations that I've been in, we've had a power outage. For actually at our hotel in Monteria, like there was a power out. back to your point, is like in Puerto Rico, people understand the concept of energy independence. But when you talk about in the US, and the importance of distributed energy, distributed resource, solar and storage, what's interesting, because we obviously have been blessed with having, a reliable grid and not having these issues. And it could potentially obviously change in the future. I hope not. But
the grid in Puerto Rico it needs a lot. It needs a lot of investment. It's an old, antiquated grid. They just have not put the amount of money and attention to it as they have needed to. Obviously, they've had major bankruptcies on the island, a lot of financial problems. It's been challenging to mobilize capital to come to the island and build out the infrastructure that is needed. And that is indeed why organizations like the DOE and others have got involved to provide funding. And that is the case also with my company, Convergent. We are building 3 battery storage projects on the island in the next couple of years. And we are involved with the DOE on that. And it's an exciting opportunity to invest in an island where they really need batteries. They really need grid resiliency. They need the ability to store energy, to bridge solar and wind with, the more conventional forms of energy on the island. So it was exciting from that standpoint as well, given the work that we're doing with Convergent on the island, and then also being able to, work with installing solar on people's roofs. So it was a really nice way to learn more about the culture and, more about the island. So.
No, and it's a beautiful island. I mean, it's, you feel it when you're there for sure. And then we can, all be able to see a little slice of it within Bad Bunny's performance at the Super Bowl, right? But at the end of the day, until you get your feet up there, and there's a lot to it. There's a lot of depth within that. Last album that he had, and like Pasa Hawaii is a song that hits home, right? On some bigger themes of what it means for communities to not be driven out, but to stay strong together and to build together. And you just said this dynamic of what's coming in the future. We have a lot of change coming in the future, right? And how can we build this change in a way that keeps those connection points within community spaces? And I definitely see Let Share the Sun as an avenue of that within the complexities of it all. And, it's one thing to go on delegations where you have the multifaceted experiences of whether it's, salsa dancing or
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I was very happy that the video that you pulled of me salsa dancing was probably my most endearing moment of that whole hour-long.
There's a lot of laughter.
There's a lot of laughter when I'm dancing.
Yeah. No, but I mean, there's definitely a lot to it. The yoga, the salsa dancing, the going into nature. I mean, getting bit up by a bunch of fire ants.
Talk about resilience.
That's so resilient.
That was the first day when that happened. I'm like, are we gonna survive it?
It was the first day. I got out of the car, like we got to the first job site. I get out of the car, I put on my hard hat, my boots, I'm ready to go. Flavia's already walking up to the roof, and I sit down in the wrong spot. I didn't really look where I was sitting, and all of a sudden, like, my back is on fire. I'm like, what is going on? I start screaming, Flavia, I don't know what's happening, but my whole back is on fire. And she came running over. She kind of knew right away what the situation was.
You know what I mean? What it really, based on that experience, is that where I come from in Argentina, from the northeast of Argentina, really close to Brazil. It's all nature, jungle everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You watch where you're going to sit. I know it's funny, but you actually do, because if you're out in nature, anything can be there, like not moving, and you don't even know, you don't see it. So the fact that he just did it, I'm like, I knew when he had his shirt out, I'm like, I know what's going on. So I ran to him and was like,
fire ants all up and down my back, in my pants. It was quite the experience. I had to
And trying to
run.
help him. I think I still have some marks.
Yeah,
on
and
those ends that I got him for trying to help him. That's
Resiliency.
I had to run into the beneficiary's bathroom to change and get it all off.
they were so helpful. And we
Yeah.
were like, I'm so sorry. And he like, we need the bathroom. And we're like, yeah, absolutely. The nicest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was amazing too to watch because first of all, I saw it and you guys were partnering together. You know, it's kind of like you couple sort of challenge. And then like afterwards, like you're all about being on the roof. That was the first, house, which was like kind of like a weird start to the whole thing, right? But then, you were able to overcome that and you're just like focused on what the task on hand was. You were like kind of like thinking about it. Maybe you were, but you weren't verbally. So
Thank God we didn't get an allergic which is funny. Thank God it happened to me.
Yeah.
I got a few bites trying to help him, so
Yeah.
I got the allergic reactions. He didn't, which is great. He had like 10 breaths,
it was hundreds. Wow.
like a lot.
Yeah.
So good.
That was not even.
And learn. Look before you sit.
Before you said, yeah. I think like two things that we haven't spoken about is like the connection between, obviously, let's say the son does like high school delegations, colleges, then there's a professional delegation. Also, too, what I feel like is you build a strong connection with the people that are on the delegation as well. And it's it's not like meeting at a conference. I think we talked about this before, like meeting at a conference or an event. This is like a great way to like, network and you build a deeper connection because you've gone through these different activities. I've mentioned yoga and the installation, speaking with them, which is important. And then the other thing too is obviously let's share the son's been around for 15 years. And it was the first time that Bill Jordan and Nancy Jordan were part of the delegation. It was the younger generation too.
The next generation
The next
stepping up
generation.
to lead.
Yeah, Brady did a great job, and Lucas has been a huge help, and even these interns, right? It's
They're
definitely a big team effort, and a big part of that is putting people in positions that are trusting them, right? And you learn through mistakes, right? That's the best way to learn. But there's always things you can't control, like fire ants or Jade slipping in the shower, right?
for sure.
Bill and Nancy, they did a great job. They planned everything out so incredibly well. So the foundation is in good hands.
And then the relationship too, we didn't talk about like with the community, right? With Casa Pleba, with Adjuntas, right? That Let's Share the Sun has. When you talk to anyone within the community, they speak very highly about
Very, very warmly about the foundation. People there, like it's a known brand. That and Casa Pueblo, these organizations are just. I think the people have a lot of affection for what you guys do.
I see it as an easy message to push and like get behind, right? What does it mean to share, and what does it mean to share something that's as abundant as the sun, right? And there's obviously a lot of potential within, what it means to grow and scale and whatnot, but you obviously want to stay rooted in those kind of values driven and not get ahead of your skis, as my dad always likes to say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think in that I would want to say like, a big part of this is getting people involved and them feeling ownership within it to move those things forward. So yeah, I know we've been talking about Argentina and it was awesome to meet Phil from the event down at Hall and, talking about Brazil and this is something that obviously you want to get the ties into the community first, right? And build it, do those connecting points. But I think the future of growing Let's Share the Sun is one that, comes within a collective effort, not just, individuals pushing it and, having the right people get involved. And I think that's an avenue towards, collaboration. I was talking with the winery Lakewood, Ben and Chris, and they're a family business, and there's obviously people outside of their family that are in it, right? But it's those conversations that are open-ending when there's not that like hierarchy per se, right? I mean, we have a board of directors
Yeah.
who support the avenues of creating decisions and whatnot. But it's really about like people, pursuing things and being inspired to do it too. So, definitely hopeful for that.
Yeah, I mean, for me too, like, as like obviously doing the podcast and then doing the events and then actually going to delegations, I think it's really interesting to hear different people's experience and actually to hear like Rachel's experience of like, she was telling me how this, like, it's a life-changing experience for her, and like, and then actually to read her like LinkedIn posts, which I could never write anything like that if I spend like hours or days, but she was able to turn it around within less than one day. And then I was actually at Aligned Climate Capital's office on Thursday interviewing Peter, the founder and CEO. They're a $2.1 billion private equity firm. And then him hearing the impact that the trip had for her. And then also he now wants to go because he's never installed solar as well. And then meeting actually other people from Aligned Climate Capital. Like, there's someone, I can't believe I'm forgetting her name, but she's from Mexico. She's from Monterrey. Yeah. And she's like the next person that they potentially are going to bring on the trip. And then as well to hear like, they have like a mission within their fund that a certain amount of carry goes to nonprofit initiatives. And then, part of that is Let's Share the Sun. And then, they were using the podcast interviews from the Solar Maverick to basically due diligence, Let's Share the Sun. So it's interesting to kind of hear. And then even talking to Rachel, now it's been like 6 weeks, and even hearing her at Hudson Hall, like, and then her watching the video that you did a great job of putting on Hudson Hall, and she was getting emotional and talking about.
Yeah, no, and I think, a huge part of that was definitely a connecting points with you, Flavia. I know we have that
that's right.
Hope, right? That was inspired by Sheila Galeas, and it's a great avenue to, share stories and, where your heart was affected in a hopeful way. And that was awesome to see both you guys straight hearts. That was a cool moment.
The hard thing to share and to change, I thought, it sounded the first time as a simple thing to do.
Right.
And okay. But then the days go by and you actually start thinking like, let me actually think, who am I connected with? What are the conversations that I'm having? Did I learn something specific or special from someone? Did I hear something that might help me get better, change, whatever it really became? It sounded so simple to do at first, but it really provoked some thought in you, and to see who the right critical delivery. So cool.
There's a metaphorical aspect to this. It's like being intentional, being thoughtful. Like, who am I going to share my heart with here? So it was actually kind of like a nice way to frame things that we should be doing every day in our lives, right?
Sure.
Really. Like, that's what I'm saying. It sounds such a simple, and like, even if you're not someone that's used to those type of exercises, you might even uncomfortable. But when you actually give yourself a chance to practice, who is impacting, who is doing something positive for me, or who am I connecting with? Like, to actually ask yourself those questions, it makes you see things in a different way. There's an extra intention in that. And after having a conversation, just an open, like, friendly conversation when we were having this day at the fork, and it ended up being an amazing conversation. The ritual just started by asking me questions. And that led to something else, and we connected so much. And when I gave her the heart, I never thought she would just feel she was feeling the same way. So it's a nice thing to even just practice in life.
Sure.
Like, I think small things that you guys did throughout the trip inspired in me that kind of like, it was a friendly reminder of like, keep these things, these exercises alive, and like, it will be nice to have it as a habit, maybe, with people around you and people you even have to talk to. Sometimes you do it because they just work with you, or because you have to.
Yeah.
But you never have really thought of like do I like this person? How do I want to interact with them? How about I start being a little more intention?
For sure. And
So-
we always slow down at Thanksgiving to say things what we're thankful for, right, and grateful for. And we live in such a fast-paced society that, doesn't always foster those moments to, slow down and say that. And, I was definitely inspired by the love you guys shared through the trip. And obviously, it's beautiful to see and know the background story of you. First time I met you, being stressed out because you're in Argentina. And
That's right. Yeah, when we met each other, Flavia was kind of stuck in Argentina for 7
I was living in the city.
she was,
I was living in Penn.
you were away from each other.
Okay.
Yeah, but at the time
And then-
you were in Argentina.
June 2024.
When you guys met.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we
When we started, like, where we met, when we
Yeah.
started talking,
We're in
dating, I was in the city.
Uh-huh.
And then eventually said, see you later. I'm there for 2 weeks.
Hmm.
And it ended up being safe. That's fun. Yeah. So it was very funny to meet you guys that you knew so much about, I guess our story.
Yeah.
Like, we finally meet you. And like the fact that we just remember all that to me was so amazing. It's like, oh, they do pay attention. Some people do. Like, some people actually listen. I know it sounds
Most people don't
funny,
listen.
but some people don't. It must be. I'm there. Like, do they really want to listen? Some people do, and why? Because they're intentional, and you guys have been showing that, and I appreciate that a lot. Like, I really respect that.
And also just to discuss connections a bit more. I mean, it was a big part of Flavia and I's story was when she was in Argentina for that time period. And we actually got a lot of help from our good friend here, Benoy, as well, opening a couple doors for us to help out with that situation. So it was really great that Benoy was such a big part of our story, and then such a part of linking us up with this foundation. So it's another example of community and friendships, and how a lot of that is just interconnected.
And I was excited that I could help, but obviously it was like such a stressful situation and time and a lot of uncertainty, right, in your relationship. And obviously, I thought it was amazing, obviously, seeing the pictures of the different times that you were meeting. And obviously I was hearing it from you and all the stress related to it, and that it all worked out. And then where you are at this point too, in a very short period of time, if you think about it, because obviously I heard about Flavia when you first started dating, and then what happened and where you were in Argentina, and then how quickly the relationship progressed, and now, where you are now. It's just amazing for me to think about the timeline. And I know that it's been so busy for you both.
A lot has changed in 2 years.
Well, there's a beautiful testimony in those pictures, right above the office.
Right.
And, I think that it's a beautiful story to tell, right? And it's, of course, Benoy's one phone call can make a difference, right?
I tried my best, and it worked actually. So it all worked out. And I was excited too. Like, now after the trip, that you would like to organize your own fundraisers, and then potentially as well. I know, Russell, you mentioned like even doing a delegation within Convergent. Like, it's just amazing to me to see, especially after the trip, like how committed you both are. And when we had that like debrief at Casa Pueblo the last day, so it's just amazing for me to see, even within the Let's Share the Sun context, not just obviously, the relationship, but too, like how strong the relationship has become, right, between you two. And then
Once on the phone. Discipline.
oh, resume.
On the phone. Every night.
Yeah, but I think getting involved with Let's Share the Sun is hopefully going to be the first of many engagements that we have with the foundation. And we'll probably go back down to Puerto Rico at some point next year. Ideally, I can lead a delegation with my company. I think that's definitely a possibility. But even just like building that culture and that habit within our marriage of just giving back and helping people, and whether it's in Puerto Rico or the United States or Argentina, there's a lot of people that are in need, and
Sure.
and I think there's a certain richness of our life that comes from helping others and building community, and us learning from other people that we don't necessarily get to interact with every day. So I think that there's just a level of like richness that like we're looking forward to building, and this is a great way to get started.
It's interesting you say that, because like I feel like I get more from giving than actually receiving. And then we're obviously in the holiday time, Christmas, and it's not just like one day out of the year, but really, what the foundation, giving in your daily life to people who you could help, right, makes a huge difference. And in a relationship, right, to remind yourself,
Well, I just,
and empower. And I'm like empowering.
empowering. Right? No, I think empowering progress is like a Jordan Energy catchphrase.
Yeah, that's a
right?
catchphrase.
Yeah. And then another one that I brought was rooted in trust. And we work with mainly farmers in the Jordan Energy sphere. And trust is a big factor. And obviously the imagery of being rooted in it is huge. And it takes time to build trust, hey? Especially in new communities with people. Especially in Puerto Rico.
Oh, for sure.
And, we don't want to be the white gringos that come down to the savior complex at all. And, and there's a reality, like you said, there is a lot of need. And I think so much of our dynamic within society is one where we'll see it on social media, we'll see it on the news, and it's the school. Yeah. Right? And what can make us stop to really think, to reflect, and shift our dynamic. And Danny and I have had many conversations about what empowers people to shift mentalities. And, we have these desires and visions to, tell stories and impact people through, that storytelling aspect of the need for change. Because, the law of inertia tells us change is met at the most resistance at the beginning. Once you get that ball rolling, it goes faster. And I think that's a big part of it. It's not just getting down there, but it's a follow-up on foundations level, but then also on like a person-to-person level to support others and be in community and share more. So, there is a lot of need, for change, and there is a lot of fear that I personally have within the future. I'm a person that loves to be hopeful, right? But we need people stepping forward in positions of power, and we need, communities together supporting that. So, that starts with person-to-person conversations, and I'm big into the oral tradition, right? Sure, it's one thing to put it on a camera and to talk about it and send it to the internet, but it's really about meeting people on ground and then, fostering that. So, excited about that for the future.
Yeah, and I feel like we could help a lot of people if we, use our collective talents.
Yeah.
That would really make a huge impact. So I'm excited about the future, because I still think it's really, just when we talk about the foundation, if you think about like the influence it could have and the growth too that's happened within the foundation, within 200 homes, that's not easy, right?
No, and domestic violence shelter.
Oh, yeah, that's just
popping off, and I think I'm excited for the March trip where we're bringing a bunch of kids, and then also solar professionals, the Solar Sisters,
Woodmac, Clean Capital.
So it's
the rape shelter. They're going to do ribbon cutting. They're going to put solar to rape shelter in March. Abby Hyde Popper is leading that, former head of CEA, or she's still actually at CEA until then. January. Well, I know you guys are busy planning that.
No, and we're all very busy, so I appreciate, all of us taking this time in this kind of Christmas season to slow down, to have these kind of like conversations. And
I think it's the perfect thing to do around Christmas. It's go back and reflect at what you did that year and what you're proud of, what you're thankful for, And Flavia and I think we could say that we are very thankful for our relationship with Benoy and Stavi and Bernie and your parents and the Let's Share the Sun Foundation. It's been a blessing for us to get involved this year. And it's just something that, we are very, very thankful for that we're taking into the holidays and we're smiling about.
It's awesome. Love it. What do you think? Anything else, Danny? What are you thinking? What's your mind at? What are you thinking? Yeah. No, I definitely, I love these. I mean, you've had 250 semi-conversations within the, Solar Maverick, and we were talking about that on the way here.
But we haven't talked about project finance for energy storage yet.
Tax equity flips.
No, it's awesome. Right? We were talking about this too, and you learn more and you connect with people.
Oh, for sure.
A good avenue to grow through, what it means to.
Yeah, I would think like person-to-person meetings and doing events with people and specifically charity-related events with a mission, I think, is really important. And what I'm excited about is the younger generation is now becoming more about in-person because they're just tired of like the phones and not having real conversations. And I totally agree with you. I'm actually excited about the future because what I'm seeing is a lot of younger people are passionate about clean energy, about community, about energy independence. And it's amazing to be even in Puerto Rico, like the little kids, they know about solar and storage. They know about energy independence, which when I was a kid, we had no, I mean, it's amazing to see. I'm excited for the future. And all that you're going to do, first of all, like you also did an amazing job on the trip as well. Like the content that you created. I mean, I really think that makes a huge difference. Even that YouTube video and all the stuff that you do, right, to market the organization. Because I think like getting the name out of Let's Share the Sun and getting people to know it is really like your marketing skills and creating this content. And then think about it. You came here like 3 hours to come, Danny. It's only a sad day here from San Diego for 2 or 3 days. Not feeling well. And, we're here doing this. And I think like this is amazing content that will help the foundation. So like never like think about, you should also think like the impact that you're making. I know you mentioned that Bernie, she did an amazing job organizing the delegation, but you too as well.
I appreciate that. I'm always one to say me nor we, Muhammad Ali saying that, and it takes a village. So there's that avenue of connecting people and supporting each other to get in positions where our talents are.
And you, obviously, like you both have different talents.
That's what Danny was saying. I think you meeting Mary for the first time. I've met Brittany before, and he was like, you guys are all very different.
For sure.
In a lot of different ways. I don't know if you can speak to that anymore, Danny.
But at the end of the day, everyone's passionate about the organization, down to earth, really excited. You could notice when you obviously talk to the Jordan family, but Bill and obviously Nancy, but then to Bernie and you. And obviously it's Mary, right?
Yeah.
I met Mary before, but we haven't had a deep conversation.
And Lucas is like an adopt.
Oh, yeah, Lucas. Lucas and Benito.
So cool.
He's
He's so cool.
and very smart, very talented, but very talented, very great at
He's such a
connecting.
warm person also.
I mean, obviously, all the people in Adjuntas that
He's a celebrity now that
but he's great at connecting. Just like we were talking about Flavia on that point, right? And yeah, he's got a bright future ahead, and I definitely got to support him in a way.
And to have the local presence within the community, like Lucas and obviously the rest of the team. And then like there was a situation where one of the houses we went to, they were really on the list, at least for the next ones. But then she saw them at a school event and then was like telling them how their need has changed and that they should be up on the priority list. I forget which
house that we went to.
I remember that story though.
But, then everyone knows Lucas. And then obviously, I can't believe I'm forgetting her name.
Jolie?
Julie, the whole team was amazing. And then I forget
Rebecca.
Rebecca is like, you didn't have actually much interaction with Rebecca, but Rebecca is an amazing person. And she was there the first day for the orientation, but usually she comes to the...
Yeah, she was on the other house on that first day install.
I think part of this, just to go back to the anecdote that you were providing, I think part of the story for this beneficiary was, I think she was volunteering at a school. I think
that's right.
She was giving back. She was getting involved in a way to give back to her community. And I think that is how she kind of reconnected with Lucas. And that ultimately led to them getting assigned to solar panels. So just like another example of like when you give, like you will receive in a very literal way in this case.
Yeah, it's funny because she was talking about that she had no expectations. She was giving to the community, that Lucas happened to be there and how that happened. That's interesting.
Happen.
He's good at making things happen. That's keeping things on track.
Yeah.
Everybody's needs those engineer minds to see that bigger picture and the tiny details, all of us are different, in our talents, and, excited about that talent. I mean, I saw the studio downstairs of singing, and, obviously music's been a big part of my life, and it's affected me in a lot of ways. We were playing music on the roof, we're connecting with the beneficiaries with the music, and I felt it especially in the early days at Haiti, but, when there's no power there, and the first thing they do when they get that power is they want to have a party.
Mm-hmm.
And that involves music and food and community building. So, there's definitely some visions of that for the future, and connecting through the lyrics, through music, and I think we need to collab with Bad Bunny one of these days. So that would be a great one. Yeah, so it's awesome. Any last words? What would we think? ¿Listamos?
What was the origin of that word that isn't really a word?
The originator.
It was this gringo. Yeah. I was trying to say listos, but
What is it like? Let go. Let go.
Like, are you ready?
Yeah.
So the fun thing, I heard you guys saying that, right? And that, it's funny, whatever. The day that we're getting ready, the morning that we're getting ready to go to the yoga class, we had to wake up super. I'm not a morning.
Yeah, we're not gonna do the morning.
But that's amazing. I wish I was that kind of person.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl. So we're waking up, 5:30 a.m. or something, or before? No, 5:45. We had
to be there.
Something.
So 5.
So it was like 5:15, and we're getting ready. And I'm not a good morning person. You already know the mood that I'm in. He's like, oh, getting ready. I'm looking myself in the mirror, doing whatever. And he's like, please stop us. And I'm like, just don't say that word. He doesn't say it. No, I'm ready. And stop saying that because that word doesn't exist. And he became this thing of like, all of you saying, and I'm like, okay, don't say anything. Oh my God.
He became the rallying cry for the November 25 Puerto Rico delegation.
It's a call to action, right? It's like a collective,
A very
I haven't said it now. I didn't get it, I guess. But that in the morning was hilarious. Like, you ready? No, I'm not. And stop saying that because Albert doesn't.
That's right. You guys came a little bit late for that first
a
few minutes late.
No listamos.
She is just passed out, right? The cutest.
We win.
Very
That is such a great,
friendly.
Thank you for taking the time, and this is awesome.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and
It's always easy to have conversations about this with you guys. You're just like, I guess, we're all very passionate about this. So we're sharing these thoughts and. it kind of like, it gets me excited again for whatever future trip we decide to do again with you. Thank you for everything. I personally am very grateful for the experience, for being there, all the connection, all the good moments that I brought with me from that experience. I learned a lot. I learned about renewable energy, and I guess my guess is I'll continue learning. But yeah, it was a very, very special type of experience, and it was exactly what I was looking for. It was not a disappointment. It was better than I what I was expecting, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
Awesome.